How can you become a world's best center for medical tourism, a place or business that's trusted to deliver great outcomes? I spoke to China's medical tourism leaders in Shanghai recently. This is part of that presentation. To be successful in the medical tourism business, not just successful but outstanding, here are 5 essential building blocks around which to structure your business. Whether you're in a hospital or clinic or working in a medical tourism company, whether you want to bring medical tourists to your facility or you're sending medical tourists abroad for treatment in another country. Build your business around these 5 building blocks and put your hospital or medical tourism business on a path to success and to be a leader in medical tourism anywhere in the world. To create a great hospital, treatment center, or clinic for medical tourists and to deliver great service to medical tourists is like creating a fabulous diamond. A diamond starts out as an unremarkable chunk of carbon. This piece of carbon is processed, cut, and polished, and a beautiful diamond is created, ready to be made into a gorgeous piece of jewelry. As a consumer, how can you be sure of buying a fine quality diamond? One way is to judge it by its 4 C's. Cut, color, clarity, carats, and some would add a 5th C, certification. What does this have to do with hospitals and clinics or medical travel facilitators? The qualities we look for when we want to buy a beautiful diamond are not unlike the qualities we look for when we want to find a top quality hospital for medical tourists or a great medical tourism company. Good outcomes in medical tourism begin with excellent clinical practices and excellent customer service. A strong clinical practice and great customer service are your foundation, your lump of carbon, so to speak. How do we turn this lump of carbon into a great hospital, a great specialty center, or a great medical tourism company? Great medical tourism treatment or care services are built on 5 key features that I call the 5 C's of medical tourism quality: comfort, care management, clarity, collaboration, and certification. Most hospitals around the world that promote medical tourism still treat medical travelers as if they were ordinary patients. Yet we know medical tourists are not ordinary patients. Anyone who goes to a hospital away from home in a strange country, no family, different food, different social customs, and different medical and hospital cultures is subject to greater risks in treatment and care than they would be if they were at home. Along with the usual risks of surgery, medical travelers are at greater risk of getting an infection or experiencing a complication. In medical tourism, there is very little information about the occurrence of adverse incidents. We resist collecting outcomes data even though we know bad outcomes happen because the worst cases are reported in newspapers, magazines, and on television. We don't talk much about these things publicly. Many of us in hospitals, clinics, surgeons, dentists, and medical tourism companies travel around the world to promote and sell medical tourism as a healthcare option for consumers, and so it is. But we spend very little time talking about the larger risks that medical tourists face. We dismiss adverse events as not our responsibility. We sweep them under a rug. After all, we say, the patient should do his own research, and besides, everyone knows there's always risk to surgery, that surgery isn't guaranteed. We'd rather talk about the 5-star hotel-type amenities, the Starbucks, the Wi-Fi, the private room, the customer service department that helps with flights, tours, and visas, and the grand piano in the lobby. But as nice as all this is, it has very little to do with ensuring that medical tourists have the good care that produces good medical outcomes. In a hospital, sitting back and expecting that your international accreditation or clinical protocols and procedures will be enough to produce good medical outcomes for medical tourists may border on negligence. A medical tourism company that promotes or recommends a hospital based only on its international accreditation may be partly to blame should a customer's experience turn bad. What makes a center great for medical tourists? What makes a medical tourism facilitator or a medical travel company great? Let's consider this lump of coal that is your clinical practice or the medical tourism service you offer today, your foundation. Let's see how you can change this from a lump of coal into a great diamond. The 5 C's of creating a great hospital or service for medical tourists are not unlike the 5 C's of creating a beautiful diamond. Comfort, care management, clarity, collaboration, and certification. The first C is comfort. Comfort is that sparkle, and that's what most hospitals and most medical tourism facilitators are selling. It's quite easy to create a hospital sparkle or a medical travel company sparkle, to put resources into physical comfort, a fancy website, or services that provide comfort. This works because research continues to show that all over the world, most patients and their families judge the quality of clinical care they receive on mostly non-clinical care items. But comfort is not only about the pretty things. There are 2 sides to providing comfort. We can give comfort, but we also need to take away the things that deny comfort. And we deny comfort if we don't pay attention to safety, security, and privacy. Most hospitals conduct fire drills and evacuation drills from time to time, believe this is enough. But patient safety is more than a fire drill. It's the safety of the patient in the room, on the ward, and in the treatment room. Are there closed circuit cameras? Are there special passcode protected areas of the hospital? Is personal information collected and kept securely in the hospital or online? Let's move beyond comfort to the other C's, the ones that are more important for the ultimate well-being and good outcome of a medical tourist. The next C is care management. It reflects our desire that care and treatment for the medical tourist be smooth and seamless. In other words, a process that works smoothly and without notice every time. And this, creating an integrated, seamless, colorless process, is quite a bit more challenging than providing that comfort or sparkle. Care management may be the most critical factor in determining the best outcome for a medical tourist. It's how you, as a healthcare professional, accommodates the needs of a medical tourist patient. Care management begins before the medical tourist has even left home. Before anyone begins traveling, you need to get information, medical records, diagnosis, medical history. You also need to give information like pre-surgery instructions. On-site, as the patient goes through hospital intake, surgery, and recovery, care management may include arranging for a second opinion, assisting with complicated scheduling, monitoring a patient in his room overnight, or making sure dietary and medication needs are met. Once the patient is discharged from the hospital, care management involves monitoring the patient's recovery so there are no surprises further down the road. And of course, care management continues as the patient returns home to make sure that any ongoing care, if needed, is properly transferred to the doctor at home and continued. Hospitals and doctors often believe that their customer service staff can take on the care management role. This is a mistake. Customer service, marketing, or international patient staff can only truly represent their employer, who is the hospital or the doctor. They cannot properly represent the patient. Proper care management of a medical tourist is one-on-one with a dedicated person accepting responsibility for that patient's ongoing well-being. The third C of great medical tourism service is clarity. Clarity first is clear communication. It is not up to the patient to understand the hospital staff. It's up to the hospital staff to make sure they understand the patient. With any international patient, care begins and ends with communication. Communicate early, often, and when in doubt, repeat. Clarity is also transparency. Healthcare transparency is visibility into the quality of your healthcare services. Transparency provides consumers with the ability to see specific information on costs, quality, and success of your medical services. Transparency means timely and full disclosure to the medical tourist, including any ethical or moral consideration involved in the treatment and care, any conflicts of interest like commissions on sales. Medical travelers should have certain rights, and you must understand and respect these rights. The fourth C of great medical tourism service is collaboration. It's the team you bring together, who you work with in order to provide seamless integrated care management. The stronger your team inside and outside your institution, the more power you bring to your medical tourism program. Collaboration inside your institution is interdepartmental relations, training, and education. It includes the technician, pharmacist, dietitian, doctor, nurse, and hospital executive, as well as customer service, international patient staff, and marketing. Collaboration outside your institution refers to your partnerships and alliances and your care network. This changes from time to time, but likely includes the provider, the doctors and nurses, the facilitator or care manager, and sometimes the embassy, the hotel, the travel agent, the airline, the health insurance provider, a visiting nurse service, or a translator. Often, the medical travel facilitator or care manager is the one who coordinates this care network. Finally, the fifth C of great medical tourism service, certification. Certification is the recognition that you have successfully put into practice the 4 C's that are the heart and soul that make your hospital, clinic, or service great for medical tourists. Many people confuse accreditation and certification. Accreditation, like JCI, Trend, Accreditation Canada, and others, reviews standards of clinical excellence. None of them provide any extra assurance that the accredited institution can manage the special care requirements of medical tourists or international patients. Medical tourism certification from the Medical Travel Quality Alliance reviews your medical tourism processes, services, and operations against an international standard of care and quality specially designed to meet the needs of medical tourists. I call this the medical travel circle of care that partners with, wraps around, and amplifies clinical excellence. Any certification or accreditation reviews your processes, systems, and operations, and is different from the programs that offer individual certification or credentialing. If you only want to get certified by completing training or education courses or having someone verify your medical credentials, there are other services that do this. An individual certification may result in the person becoming more knowledgeable about medical tourism or international patient care, but it says nothing about the quality of the service being offered. To assure healthcare consumers that a hospital or business operates in a safe and secure fashion and yields good outcomes for medical tourists, or that a medical tourism company takes a responsible approach to its work, must be demonstrated by a mark or symbol of quality. When you have that mark of quality, when your medical travel service is certified by MTQA, healthcare consumers know they are receiving safe and quality treatment and care as good as or better than what they would have received at home, and managed appropriately for their cultural, social, medical, emotional, and physical needs. There you have the 5 C's of medical travel quality that are the building blocks to a great medical tourism service or program. Become a great medical tourism service provider by working on all the details of comfort, developing a strong care management process for seamless application of medical and care protocols, focusing on communication, transparency, ethics issues, and other issues of clarity, collaborating with staff and outside partners. Make sure they are as great and as understanding of the special needs of medical tourists as you are. And finally, certifying your hospital, clinic, treatment center, or medical travel company so you have that mark of quality, demonstrating you provide excellent care to medical tourists and that you are as great as you say you are. You can find out more on the MTQA website about medical tourism certification or any of the other services MTQA has to help you succeed in your medical tourism business.